Hey, how about we get started?
Yeah.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
We'll get started here, and then hopefully people will drift in like I did with the last one. Onyx Path Publishing, and what is it? You've been hearing a lot about it since the last year when we brought that up. I'm Rich Thomas, longtime creative director and art director for White Wolf, and calling myself the creative director of Onyx Path Publishing, but the reality is that I'm the owner of Onyx Path Publishing and the publisher of Onyx Path Publishing.
He's the everything of Onyx Path Publishing.
Onyx Path is a independent game studio. It is not owned or part of CCP or White Wolf. We had a lot of interesting things occur in the last year at White Wolf. If you guys remember the massacre in October. And what really went on was we were looking at the difficulty of trying to make paper RPGs in a company that's dedicated and is really good at making MMOs. So from that we moved to Eddy and I put together White Wolf 2.0 last year. If anybody was at any of those panels, and put out V20, and we continue to put out the New World of Darkness and Exalted. But more and more it became very obvious that CCP was not able to really take care of White Wolf the way it needed to. And it was very frustrating for the folks at CCP as well. They had merged with White Wolf because they loved what we did and were really excited about it, and felt like in the case of the website, which I know everybody has issues about,
including us.
Every single person on that web team was frustrated that they could not spend the time that they, as professionals, wanted to spend making it a really cool thing, because something would break down with Eve. There was a new prototype that had to be made for one of the other MMOs. I mean, it was just very frustrating. So CCP decided that there shouldn't be an in-house paper publishing division, and at the same time, I'd been interested in moving on to my own thing, probably for the last decade, but stuck around to make sure that White Wolf and CCP merger was working out the way it was supposed to. I got they convinced me to come and work on the MMO, and they did that for 3.5 years. And so, knowing that I was interested in not really working for a 600-person corporation, If I was going to work for one, it would be CCP. They're a really great place to work. But there's just too many people. I don't like seeing people in the hallways that I don't really know. It's just over the years you kind of find the things that you want to do in life and not want to do. And I really was so energized by V20 and getting back on working on paper RPGs and having fun and working with artists I hadn't talked to in 15 years and doing the layout. It was just phenomenal. So the question was, what do you want to do? Do you want to come to some kind of understanding and work in some part of CCP, or how about we work with you to you take care of the White Wolf stuff, but it's your own company? And so that wasn't what Onyx Path started out to be, but it really fit really well with the evolution of White Wolf that we've been talking about with White Wolf 2.0 and stuff like that. So what is the Onyx Path? So I'm going to give you the poetic version of what is Onyx Path. And it is the path of imagination and creativity through the darkness, dimly seen, perhaps just a dark flicker at your feet. Where it leads is always a better place, but not always in the way you expected. It's really the travel along the Onyx Path that matters. I spent a lot of time. I spent a lot of time. Spent a lot of time in Mark Ryan Hagen in my youth, and so I got good at writing stuff like that.
That's all your writing mojo.
As straight, it's like a bonsai tree, and you trim parts away. Hold on. This actually helped me in the course of figuring out what I was doing with this whole thing, in the fact that for 20 years I was part of a company that I helped build, and the processes of being that company were something that I helped build, and to then go out on my own and make this thing was somewhat intimidating for those guys who do this as a freelance gig. I've always had my hats off because I did not have the courage in my youth to just go off and be a freelancer. So this helped me get through that. But here's probably what's going to show up on the website. The products it's like our mission statement. From Onyx Path Publishing encompass a wide variety of genres and share a common commitment to excellence in content and presentation. Our end goal is to engage our fans and make them part of the creative experience while being innovative leaders in the RPG industry. Okay, that'll probably appear at the bottom of every press release and stuff like that. And it's, it is as true as we could make it while still making it viable as, kind of marketing speak. Because this is really what Onyx Path is. And it's these guys. Okay? It is the creative partners that are what really is what the core of White Wolf always was, which is a whole lot of creative people having a lot of fun making some amazing things for other creative people to enjoy. And you can see that guy, Eddy Webb, Bill Bridges, Ethan Scamp, John Mork, Russell Bailey, C.A. Suleiman, Macklin, Justin Achille, Craig Grant, Genevieve, I never get into last name, Podleski, Ian Watson, John Chambers, Mike Chetty, plus Holden Shear, Jeff Grabowski, Matt McFarland, Aileen Miles, Stu Wilson, Ryan Macklin, and this guy, Matt McElroy. And that's just the people whose names I could think of and get the photos in time to put the slide together. It's about working with people you really enjoy, and it's about people who, in the years of doing this thing, have made so many great books and other products for you guys. They're going to be doing that again, and they're going to be having fun with it. And it's not about... Justin is, he's working in a computer game company at Red Storm up in North Carolina. He's also the Vampire 20th developer, and loving it. We know what we do now. We're not learning a lot of what we do. We're learning new technologies and stuff like that, but we're not the basis of how do I want to make a book. Justin's a past master, so any of these guys is and we had the opportunity with the old White Wolf crew guys I've known for I hired a lot of them, and with new guys who are Energizer fans of the work coming into it, like Ryan, who has joined us here and is working on the convention books. This is great, This is the sort of thing. Now we have guys who were influenced or excited about this stuff back when they were playing, who are now actually working on the same game lines they're excited about. That's pretty cool. So, the official thing is we are
very
signatures
close.
Away.
Right.
But CCP was fine with announcing it here. This is like the end of the big announcement that we were supposed to do a month ago. Real sorry. If it was frustrating that you guys had to wait a month to hear about this, please, just for a moment of empathy, think of how frustrating it was for me to have made this deal in October and I'm now able to actually talk about it. So, licensed publisher of White Wolf products. New World of Darkness, Exalted, Classic World of Darkness. Okay, that is what we're going to be concentrating on. For anybody who was in the World of Darkness, the White Wolf panel earlier today, where we went over them and what the release schedule is. Obviously, the release schedule is very, very important. It is what we really have pushed to get in front of everybody and get working on, and sometimes very, very rapidly working on it. Sorry, Colin and Ryan. But because all the parts had to come together. Regardless of anything we say, CCP is actually an international company, and it has a lot of legal issues that have to be dotted and crossed before they can move forward on things. So we thought we could make an announcement a month ago. We couldn't, and it's better. And I know this doesn't sound right to the fans, but it's better that you guys have to wait and have the internal stuff have all its ducks in a row, and therefore flow better from that point on after the waiting is done, than it is to jump forward into something too soon and find out that there's a guy over in Germany who now has the rights to Werewolf because we didn't get the right copyrights put down there.
And one thing definitely I want to bring up, I'm Eddy Webb. I'm a content designer for CCP, and one of the things that
on the MMO project,
right, the Warlords MMO. And I stepped up to help out with this is because I still work at TCP, and I wanted to make sure that not only that this was done right and done well, but also it's very easy when you're in a 400-person company for things to fall between the cracks, and I'm absolutely making sure these kinds of things don't happen. So,
he's got a butterfly net and he stops things from falling.
Right. We have a weekly meeting where we talk about all the concerns with Onyx Path and the other licensing partners we start to work with. And I have a regular weekly meeting with Rich, our Monday meeting that we've had for years. But now it's a chance for me to kind of check in and say, is there anything you need? Is there any outstanding concerns? Is there anything I can do to help out with that? And vice versa. Also, CCP can come to me and say, can you help us understand what's going on here and what the questions are? What kind of things does the community really need and our community expecting?
What's a Kickstarter?
Right. Yeah. Why are you getting $500,000 of our money? It's questions like that. And this is all because CCP really does want to make sure that this transition is done the best way for you guys. So it's taking a very long time because we want to make sure it's done right, or at least as right as we can make it. But there's going to be mistakes, there's going to be continued challenges because this is like a brand new thing for us. We've never done it before, but at the same time, we're being careful because we want to make sure that we don't massively misstep. We want to make sure that the quality of the products is still what you guys expect. We want to do what we can to make things better for you guys if at all possible, because now Rich has the attention and bandwidth that no matter how much we were inside the company trying to get it to work, Rich can just get things done. He can just call somebody up and say, I need the website fixed, and call somebody up and say, I need this book done, as opposed to trying to manage the bureaucracy that happens when you're a company that's owned by Iceland and has branches in Atlanta and Shanghai and Newcastle and the West Coast. There's a lot of jurisdiction bureaucracy there and time zone concerns. Now Rich can just make a phone call, send an email, and things get solved. So this ultimately is a really fantastic thing, but certainly it's been slow because we want to make sure it's done right.
Yep, that's basically it. Good. So what is this going to affect you guys? What does it mean to the fans that this is now turned into this kind of thing where Onyx Path is going to be publishing White Wolf products? It's the same business model. I put us on a path as creative director to move towards PDFs, to move towards electronic publishing, to move towards print on demand. Eddy, in his tenure, while I was diving into the MMO before you did, as we do this little topsy-turvy thing, kept that thing going, got us away from a debacle with one print on demand publisher. And
which is not name that has 4 letters and starts with L.
And rhymes. So, same business model, the same thing we've been talking about for the past, 6-7 years of books in PDF, books on print on demand. Kickstarters are now the new thing that we've added to the mix, but I think it actually is part of the thinking. It's not an alien thing for us to do this. We now can create deluxe editions, real made by printers on old style presses, real old presses.
Yes, Gutenberg presses.
Gutenberg presses where they had to put the letters in one by one.
God, I hate carving this symbol.
Yeah, but traditional print publishing and printing. This enables us to be able to do that and do the PDFs for the emerging way of playing games, and do print on demand so that anyone at any time can go to one bookshelf and drive through and get a book sent to them. It's as easy as using Amazon. You boom, bam. Maybe easier. Certainly nicer. Drive-thru's got great customer service if you're confused, and I often am. One of the things that is good is here, and I'm emphasizing this every time I mention the schedule because there's some people who get real mad at me when things don't come out the month I say they will. Well, I say a lot of things, guys. They're not all true. But in this sense, the schedule that we released was actually a month ago?
Yeah.
About a month ago, whenever we released the schedule, that is what we intend to do. There will be shifts and changes to that. The further out we go on that schedule, the more likely there is for something to switch around, for a different idea to come up, for a different priority to show up. Try not to do that. Mostly the reason it's going to shift is that things will happen late. And there's a reasons for that. The way that the schedule is currently and why some things are not where they're supposed to be is that we've been negotiating for the first half of 12. We've discovered in the course of what we want to do and how we want to do it that there's certain approval rounds that CCP needs in order to be sure that, despite their confidence in me and all of my guys, that they've actually signed off on something, that I'm not just out there publishing something that they have no clue, and then they'll be very, very surprised when Book of Erotic Fantasy 2 comes out.
It's coming.
More people talk to me about that. So they want to have that. And of course, there's an art approval stage. So there's 2 stages of approval within CCP itself. And learning how to do that well has been something we've been doing for the past 6 months.
And actually, one point is that when we released the schedule last year, and the schedule we've been following for this year, that was done with the idea that Rich and I were both to be in-house TCP, and this approval process wasn't going to be necessary. So, in the course of that, part of the reason why books have slipped is because this whole new process has been jammed into place, and we're also learning it all. So that's why in the past several months, a number of those books have been later than we had anticipated, because we were going by a schedule with a very different model than we are now.
But on a better picture level, on a less just nuts and bolts and more about just an overall philosophy, I would rather not deliver a book to you guys if it's not the highest quality we can make it. And I think we did that a lot with White Wolf, but I'm not going to make claims that we did it all the time. We were a business that had to get things out into stores, and if we didn't get those things out to those stores, the distributors would cut back their orders. The stores would stop ordering because the guys in here yelling at me, and now I'm never ordering your stuff again. And we all know retailers like that, so I'm not making fun of anybody. Mm-hmm. It's just the reality of it. Now, I would rather take the extra month, take the extra 2 months, and say, this is how it's going to be. There's some books that should come out on time that we're going to work really, really hard to make them come out when we say they will. But if it really comes down to a question of, if Ryan says to me, look, man, I got all that stuff done to you before GenCon, and I can't even believe I did it, but I could really use another pass. I really could go back into it and feel better about it. Then yeah, we're gonna definitely look at it at the very least, and probably say okay, we'll make the appropriate apologies, and one of the things that's going to help with this is the Onyx Path website, where that schedule, as things change, will be updated. There will be explanations on the site as things change. So no more waiting for months and months and months to find out on one forum post that Eddy might have said over there, right, or somebody mentioned to you, oh, so that's what happened. It's going to be as overt and as transparent as I can make it on the Onyx Path. I'm not the... Because one of the other thing I do want to point out, because a lot of people think, well, back in the day, White Wolf did this. Back in the day, White Wolf had anywhere from 15 to 120 employees, okay, all trying to pull these things together, but all, considering the size, doing a pretty damn good job at it. The guys I'm working with now, like I was saying about Justin, a lot of them have full-time jobs, right? Yeah, they're mad. They've got to give their level best to those jobs. That's like where their true bread and butter comes from. And they do this because they love it, and they do this because they can do it. So if Justin says to me, dude, I'm not getting you that manuscript till next week because I'm crunching on a delivery at Red Star, that's just what's going to happen. We'll try to make up the time, but end of the day, that's why kind of the schedule in the first half of the year for the V20 books has gotten a little weird. Why it's taken so long to get Vampire 20 Companion out. Part of that was Justin moved 4 times.
Yeah.
And it's literally that personal situation at this point, which I actually like. I'd rather have that than some corporate, mucky-muck thing went on that was... no, I'd rather Justin had to stay home and take care of his daughter that day. Okay.
Yeah, or what you want.
And then, I just got Kickstarters have a lot of moving parts, so please stop yelling at me.
Right. It's not our fault.
All right. So, that was the White Wolf IPs.
Right.
Hey, look, it's Scion. Well, that's not a White Wolf IP anymore. It's mine. We're gonna redo Scion with Onyx Path. I was one of the big instigators of Scion back in the day. I think it's a great concept for a game. I think there's things we could do better, obviously, and we're going to do that. But it's going to come in a new edition. I can't say when right now, mostly because it was hard enough to get the White Wolf stuff rolling the way it should. But it is definitely something I'm proud of that we did. It was the only, and I had many both distributors and other game companies say to me, it's the only new game. It's a new idea. And it isn't really a new idea, but as a new game, as a new IP, everything else that comes out, what else is new other than in indie world, like from the big publishers? I was never going to do nothing but a variation on D&D for the rest of its existence. D&D 17 next year.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, I'm announcing it for them. That's helpful. And that was really true, and I was really proud that we were able to again break ground at a time when people thought you couldn't put a new game out; you could only do variations of the next edition of this, that, and the other thing. This is from the guy who also did V20, but you know. Trinity Universe, yeah, that's mine too. I love Trinity. I mean, the whole thing. I will be honest with you. Adventure is my baby.
Adventure's awesome.
But Trinity Universe, it is. We are going to do a new edition of the full damn universe. I don't know what it's going to look like. I got some crazy ideas, which I'll go into a little bit more. But this is so. These two things are the next big projects that Onyx Path is going to be looking at. It's sort of things that I've always wanted to do an edition of. There was no justification to do that within CCP because
we have Eve and
Eve's a sci-fi game. So Trinity, it was fantastic and it was great at the time, and it actually influenced a couple of the Eve guys. But no, we're not able to touch it because we've already got a science fiction IP. Well, now we can. Now we can make it really cool. So that's the next phase of stuff that I like Onyx to do, which is these two games. And the third phase, which you might have seen something a little bit about, is working on creating some new games. And in this instance, we put out a quick start for Cavaliers of Mars. Russ Bailey, he will foursquare tell you straight up, it is a fantasy heartbreaker. It is dudes on Mars dueling. As he said to me, and I think this was the line that sold me on it. If a planet has canals, which of course we all know, the planet has canals, wouldn't they have Venice? Swashbuckling.
Yeah.
So, Cavaliers of Mars. It's very much the beginning of this process. Russ was the first guy to get on there, but a bunch of the guys from Old White Wolf have games in their heads they always wanted to do.
Never talking about one.
Yeah, never could quite justify getting it into White Wolf itself.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can make some of those things happen, and that is incredibly exciting and very fulfilling. We don't know where any of these things will go. We don't have really a time thing. Russ, I will tell you right now, Russ is working on the rulebook for Cavaliers of Mars right now. So if anybody got the free quick start, and a lot of people did, so if you didn't from drive-through, please check it out. It is actually a lot of fun. It's what's he using? Wushu and something. He's using two different. You can use either system, and that he feels are very evocative of the setting, and so that's the next thing. Working with the creative people that we've come to know and love over the years.
My favorite story about Cavaliers of Mars that kind of helped me to it was a joke, but it helped me understand kind of where Onyx Path can go. Is I heard a story of someone complaining online that Cavaliers of Mars were ripping off too much of White Wolf stuff, and that White Wolf sued them.
Because it really looks like a White Wolf. Well,
right, because it's the exact same guy doing this.
I laid it out, and
right.
And actually, I mean, I said to Russ, "Did you want to go far out from our look?" I mean, and he's like, "No, I mean, you developed that because it works." Mm-hmm. It's good to read. It's fun to read. It gives you a great feel for it. I mean, as long as no one, and CCP's just like, I don't care.
Right.
It's not our IP. Don't fuck. If make sure we approve things, but it's your thing to go do stuff. So, good to go.
That's it.
So that's it. That's it, guys. Questions?
So quick question. You're going to be licensed publishers of the White Wolf material. So the three-step process you were talking about, and you alluded to in the previous panel, is that still in place? So you still have to go through a nice, strict review process where things can get stuck and caught? And
theoretically, yeah.
And so you don't have as much autonomy with those as you...
With the White Wolf products, CCP is going to protect those IPs.
Okay.
World of Darkness in particular, obviously they're investing millions of dollars. and hoping for something that's going to change the face of the MMO industry. So can't really have a crappy book come out for that.
But that being said, I'm on that review board. And one of the things that we've talked about on the review board is that everyone on the review board, with the exception of one person, has worked at White Wolf in the past. The exception is our lawyer, who plays a D&D game every other weekend. Right. So these are not suits, these are gamers. And secondly, part of that is that we're trying to commit to a fast turnaround time on these. Certainly there may be times when we have to say, hey, whoa, this is a big problem. That's only happened, I think, once or twice, really.
Well, and like I was saying, in the beginning of this thing, there was a lot of creakiness, uncertainty. Who's talking to what? And then, oh, I'm on vacation. I don't want to. I have to sign off on that. And now it's really starting to flow along a lot better. We just got approval of a bunch of art just as I was sitting here.
Right, and so it's like, and we've been dividing up responsibilities. Like, so I'm picking up on the writing and development side of things, reading, checking the show's okay. Matt Milberger, who's been working for a gazillion years, he's helping Rich out with the art.
I hired him out of art school.
Right.
He's just a little guy.
So he's picking up one thing, I'm picking up another thing. We're meeting every week to talk about these things and moving things forward. And Matt and I sit next to each other. Our desks are right next to each other, so we can say, hey, what's going on with this thing and that thing. So that is theoretically possible, but we are committed to make sure it doesn't happen.
Yeah. And as we try different things also with the print on demand, that's another potential spot, because they have to make sure that what we're sending to them is actually viable for their printing processes.
Right, but again, Matt's there at Drive to RPG to help out with that.
And
Benny, who worked at White Wolf, is responsible for that. So again, these are people who are committed to this particular brand who want to make sure it's done well.
There's a guy in the back I should...
I was going to ask, the Trinity logo had Adventure Apple and Ale. Does that mean the original name for the third game is back on the cards?
I'm looking at that.
Because I
think it's cool. Well, so the way that I think is viable to do this is to have the overarching umbrella name with the game name. So it would be the Trinity Universe Adventure, the Trinity Universe Aberrant, the Trinity Universe Aeon. That, I believe, settles everyone's fish the way it needs to be settled. I could be wrong, and then, you know, I'll be sued by a giant corporation and be destroyed. So it'd be great. Awesome. It's a new life experience on the Onyx Path.
Speaking of the Trinity universe, you mentioned you had some interesting ideas for how to do that,
Yeah, well, I don't want to go down too many. Philosophically speaking, I'm really interested in how game... we call it paper RPGs, tabletop RPGs, whatever. I'm really interested in how that's evolving. And obviously we're committed to books. We have the deluxe editions, true books. We have the print on demand, which is, you know, you can get a book easy as Amazon. The PDFs on tablets. Well, PDFs on tablets, I mean, yeah, it works and it's cool. And now you have, somebody was telling me there's a great library of Exalted now for that they don't have to hug, you know, 50 pounds of books around. But it's not really gone anywhere that's truly into the electronic space. It's the PDFs originally came out so that there would be a very easy file format that you could get things, like we use it for getting to the printer.
Yep.
Right? And then we make a book from it. Oh, wait a minute, people would like to just buy them? Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. So we really haven't evolved as much as we could in this industry. People are trying it. There's, you know, a couple of guys... One guy posts on RPG.net with his, you know, is my character creator open? Yeah. I think a lot more could be done with it. And I think something like Aeon, I always wanted it to be, like, if you look at how the book is set up with the little floaty heads, the little hologram heads and stuff, I actually always wanted them to be real hologram heads. And we can get a lot closer to that now as an app than you could on a flat piece of paper. So there's some real interesting potential there. And with that, let me just say that I just signed a deal. It just came through on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday even. Onyx Path is going to put out a 10-sided dice roller app, and from that, I'll then discuss with CCP getting the skins for all the White Wolf IPs, and of course, easy enough to put on a Scion one and a Trinity one and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and once again, I mean, I keep hammering this, but I think it's really important to note that the person we're talking to with that she's one of the founders for V20 Europe. Yep. You know, so again, someone very passionate about this brand who wants to make it better.
As a profession, creates apps. Mm-hmm. Oh, isn't that nice? Let's work together. And also I think the other thing to say is this is not like, oh man, we talked about Dice Rollers for Mummy
Right.
being available for it, and went through a whole process of working with a couple different pitches and things like that, and didn't quite work out. This is what happens. It's like those guys who didn't quite print our PODs the way we wanted them to. This is part of learning a new thing and going down these things. Sometimes you go down roads that don't work out. I'm very confident about this one, though, because they were dead on. And, of course, they're huge White Wolf fans, so they know exactly how the dice need to... Like, hey, why don't we make the dice black? Yeah. So, okay. You...
Okay. So Onyx Path has a license to does it have a license to the full White Wolf back catalog? Could we potentially see new products for other games? Like I know you've mentioned obviously putting out books that you guys never got around to,
right.
Like the Changeling books, or maybe possibly some of the Dark Ages books. But could we potentially see newer products from older game lines? Like, I don't know, Orpheus or Street Fighter?
Well, now Street Fighter is not owned by us.
Ah.
Okay, so that was a license we had. Rights reverted. That's it. You want to play Street Fighter? What's the name of it? Burn
Legend.
Thank you. I knew somebody would know. Yeah, I mean that was Holden's homage to that, and you can play pretty much any of the White Wolf games using Burn Legend. So, but yeah, basically anything in that back catalog that is a tabletop role playing game that White Wolf actually owns. Like we couldn't do Ravenloft. That was a license from.
Yeah, we can't do EverQuest.
Can't do EverQuest. Can't do World of Warcraft, unfortunately.
You could do whole, yeah.
Do Racer Knights.
Yeah.
Racer Knights RPG.
Oh, what about Shattered Lands?
Scarred Lands.
Scarred Lands.
Those are going to a different licensor. That's Mike.
What?
Webb.
Scarred Land?
No. I don't know.
You don't know what you're talking about.
You're right. I don't know what I'm talking
So let me just say that's in negotiations that it's not going to a different licensor.
Fair enough. No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking old. Never mind. I'm thinking different conversation. You're right.
Yes.
No, my bad.
So yeah, some of those things are there. There's other ones that are a little more complicated on the legal end that they haven't really worked into, because I really didn't want to throw, hey, can you figure out how to get this one, when I need my contract. The legal team is incredibly dedicated, and they're incredibly overworked.
Right.
But anything that's proprietary White Wolf is potentially up for
Sure.
Yep. Okay. Guy right there. Yeah.
I wanted to get this right. You said there'd be a renewed focus on traditional printing, or that would be something that you guys could do?
So, I think I know where you're going with this, but let me just say that on the face of it, really the exact opposite is what I said, which is we have print on demand, we have PDF. That's what we've been doing, and that's what we are doing. The traditional printing is via the Kickstarter when we do deluxe editions or anything that would be enabled by that. The fact of the matter is, I don't want a company where I have to worry about inventory in the warehouse that's downstairs. I don't want to have to rent space.
Traditional publishing can be a tool for very specific things, like going, oh my God, this thing sold amazingly. We want to a short print run of something, blah. That's something that could be theoretically looked at.
Or like, hey man, you know what? Like, well, one thing Matt's talking about, and it is very important, is Free RPG Day.
Yeah.
Well, I got to go to a printer and I get some stuff printed, then I got to send it out to these guys, and they'll handle getting it to every place it needs to go. So that's much more viable. And valuable, obviously, on a marketing end and getting the word out. But there may be other projects like that. There may be something that makes sense to try to get into stores for various reasons. Well, okay. But in a general sense, this works, and this works really well.
Right, yeah, we flipped from a traditional publisher that uses PDF and print on demand occasionally to now this is print on demand PDF and occasionally it's traditional publishing.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know who to talk to. Art, go ahead.
Okay. You mentioned in the panel Black Dog Game Factory. Is that just a label that we place on things, or are you going to have another publishing company that you'll be in charge of as well, just like Onyx Path?
Well, to be fair, that reference was the Black Dog Game Factory, the in-game entity of Black Dog Game Entry in Werewolf.
Okay, so it's not. It's not
Book of the Worm.
Book of the Worm is not going to be under the Black Dog Game Factory.
And to be fair, that's actually been something even before any of this happens, because
There's really no reason for it.
there's no reason for it. I mean, our games are a little more adult now, and the gaming community is acceptable more adult titles, so we don't need to have a distinction anymore.
But in a general sense, is it possible there's another brand we might come up with that's underneath Onyx Path? Blah, blah. Yeah, of course. I mean, if there's something that makes sense for that. And in fact, that ties into the Scarlands discussion of to handle that. But it's not something that I dream of doing right now. Hell, I'm just getting this one started.
I was curious if we were going to see other.
But Black Dog, yeah, I mean, we a long time ago said, the whole reason we did this so that we could write anything we wanted to write, and the retailers wouldn't go, you put breasts in there. Which we had guys, you can't have that, I can't have that on my shelves. They know who they are. I made fun of them for 20 years. So that's why we did it, right? And then we realized that we were writing fucking every single paragraph. Sorry, guys. Earmuffs! Uncle Rich is talking. Put the earmuffs on the whole time.
Uncle Rich is drunk again.
That's Uncle Drinky.
Uncle Drinky.
So I mean, we already just write what the hell we want now.
All right.
I mean, with HBO doing what they do.
Yeah.
Okay, man.
Yes. Actually, my question is geared toward both you and Matt. As far as the quality of print on demand, how has that evolved since the print on demand actually started? Not through that 4-letter word,
right.
But when Drive for RPG kind of picked that up and started running with it.
I think it's just gotten better and better. Yeah, it's really gotten better. I mean, we wouldn't use print on demand for years because I just didn't like the quality. It looked like somebody Xeroxed something.
Right.
Xerox was a thing where we did copies back then. So yeah, I mean, so I think it's just getting better and better. We continually getting updates from. Can you say the name of the company?
Lightning Source.
Lightning Source. Oh, yeah, I guess you can.
Yep.
I try to stay away from that because I don't know where they are on.
Yeah, but that's the company that we use to print the books, and we are constantly testing their capabilities
in ways that drive them nuts.
Well, they had never considered doing certain formats or certain
like
sizes.
Like a 500+ page full color book,
right.
As a random example.
One of the things we're really working with them on is something they never had a need for because most of their clients are fiction publishers or kids book publishers. But one of the things that I'm really passionate about are end sheets. When you open a book, the inside cover has a map on it, or they've never done that before. They never needed to. So we are bringing RPGs and comics to them.
So that's one real easy way to find out if your book is like you buy it on eBay, and if it's got white end sheets, then it's probably a print on demand.
Right.
Now,
Well, it's the back sheet too has the.
Yeah, there is a back sheet.
And then the second part of my question was going to be, as far as the editing goes, are you still going to be working with Scribendi? Or
I don't know who that is.
Sort of.
I officially will say that under my tenure as developer, I have never found a need for Scribendi services. And afterwards, give me a drink, I'll tell you my opinion.
We have actually the Genevieve Podleski.
Oh yes.
Is the woman who edited Vampire 20th. If you've been through it, Vampire 20th on pure editing, it's a delight. Her index is amazing.
She has a library science degree. And so we talked a lot about how to organize things and whatnot because we're well known for our indexes. And that was actually part of the pitch I made to Rich from V20. I've worked in V myself for a number of years, and I've loved her work, but I was like, she wants to volunteer doing an index. And so we talked it through, and then...
I said, volunteer?
Right. Her first pass on the index was like a 35-page Word document. And so, I mean, she was very, very passionate about this. And so, people like that, again, she's a long-time White Wolf fan, she knew that we could do better.
So it's going to be more of an in-house focus then, as far as...
No, it's going to be more of a in-community focus, is the way I'm putting it, because there's not really a house to be in. It's Rich's house, literally. But these are people that we know. We're like Ryan. I've always loved his work before we became friends, and so when he kept saying, "Hey, I have some ideas for Mage," I was like, I know his work, and he's my buddy and my friend. Like, so I can see the passion there, but I also see the quality there. And so I got him in touch with Rich, and now he's working on Mage. Colin, I know him professionally, not as individuals, but we started talking about Mummy stuff, and he had some really fantastic, passionate ideas. He was really excited about Mummy, and so that's why I was like, you know what, you go ahead and take this on. You really know what you're doing with this. Right. So that's really where the focus is people who are passionate and good, rather than people who just charge a service.
Yep. And also Michelle Lyons is another one of our editors who's working on some things. So it's individuals, it's people who edit. That's what they do, and as far as I'm concerned, they're very, very good at it. So
sounds like an exciting evolution. So.
Yes.
It's a little bit of learning experience and going back to some stuff. There's a hand all the way in the back. I see guys just waving back. I can't.
Yes. Well, two of us in the back, but we mentioned the print on demand and moving away from the traditional publishing. How is this going to affect your store presence? I know that my local gaming store is a good place to pick stuff up. How's it gonna?
Our White Wolf is dead. Did you not hear that at the store?
Never played a White Wolf game and want to walk in and run across them. What's going to be the outreach kind of effort in that regard?
I believe it would be more along the lines of an outreach effort, and that's one of the things that, getting this together to do. The key thing is to get the products out to the fans, right? That's the key thing, and that's what we've been focusing on, and that's where we're working on these contracts, everything like that. The next stage is how do we and this is all covered by marketing. How do we get this the news of these things out? How do we get people engaged and knowing what's going on? We've got a very active community online. Everything that we do is being tweeted and Facebooked and everything else. There's a lot of social networking that goes on. I don't want to exclude the stores from that, but I'm also not going to go back into the publishing treadmill. If I can avoid that in any way, I don't want to have inventory that I have to send to those guys. But if there is a way we could do some kind of outreach, if we can do a brick and mortar component to this, and I know Matt continues to try to find a way that can make sense for drive-through to also be working with those guys, which would be better for me, frankly. It's something. I have had some amazing conversations with retailers, guys who were so motivated and so frustrated they couldn't get things. But the fact of the matter is, we have not put a book in their store for real.
3 years? 4 years?
Last one was, what, Dance Macabre or something like that.
And that was an exception. That was like kind of the last thing.
Yeah, I mean...
Really, 2009.
It is not that White Wolf is dying. It's that White Wolf does not want to publish in the traditional manner that is not really that good. It is broken. There are, and I reserve my ire for the guys who are distributing. I'm not saying they're distributors, but who are distributing to the retailers and who tell them that, oh, that thing's out of stock when they've got a warehouse full of it. Okay, that's what broke the system, and I don't want to be part of that and go down the same mistakes that we did with White Wolf. So if the retailers can, if we could come up with something, and Matt was bending my ear yesterday about it. We will try to find ways to bring the retailers into our community the same way that we've got a good start with the fans. I can see another hand there, and then I'll pop over to you.
What's the likelihood we'll see some more Mind's Eye Theater in the next few years?
So Mind's Eye Theater is a different thing entirely, and I had the option to bring that into this license, and I didn't. And I'll tell you why. Is that unlike Eddy, I am not a member. I mean, I am a member, but I'm not a practicing member of Camarilla or any of them. Okay, I did back in the day. I loved doing live action gaming. The logic and what works and what doesn't work, and why a fan would love something like that, and how best to do it, I think is better given to a different licensor who is deeply as committed to live action role playing as I am to tabletop.
And there are some licensors that are already talking to us about that.
Right. So I'm not saying that in the end of the day we might not put out some Mind's Eye Theater stuff because of other deals, but it would definitely be. Like I said, I just can't. Whether I don't have the experience and I don't have the heart for loving the Mind's Eye Theater and the LARP experience because I just have never had the time to really engage myself in it.
Right, but it's something I'm very passionate about. I've been a live action player for almost 20 years, so it's something that I'm very passionate about, something I'm continuing to make sure that CCP finds a good home for.
I mean, I LARPed the Ars Magica.
You can call it LARPing.
Oh, it was...
You can call it role-playing.
A guy wanted to kill me, like in real life, because I got him so mad.
That's just you.
That's true. No, it was the character.
Cavalier's and Mars shows that you guys are willing to go outside the usual storyteller system stuff. Are we going to be seeing more of that from Onyx Path
Absolutely.
as well? More non-storyteller stuff, more variations in the storyteller system? Because the press release, for example, there it says it's a new version of the story built from the ground up.
Which because it's a White Wolf IP, so we want to have a level of consistency there, right? New games, I had with Cavaliers, I had a discussion with Russ, but how we were conceptualizing, he had come up with a new system. It was using dice, and each die represented. I forget how he had it set up, but it was playing around with the dice shapes and stuff like that, and it was fun. I know other guys have done similar things, but Russ's was kind of cool, and it was all trying to make it work for dueling. And he said, "But should I do a dice pool instead? Because that's what all the fans are familiar with." And I was like, this is your precious little gem, man.
Yeah.
Do the thing that best is for your beautiful little thing you're doing there. And if we don't sell to the vast majority of people, you still created this beautiful gem, and people will appreciate that. And then maybe we'll do another one. You'll come up with a new concept, and we'll make it totally storyteller-like.
Yeah. Justin and I both have been pitching ideas to Rich as well about our own little similar pet projects, both of which are also fantasy heartbreakers, weirdly enough.
But he's got one.
But neither of them use storyteller system either, because these are also we love storyteller system, but also kind of lived inside of it for a very long time. So trying new things, not being constrained to that particular dynamic is gratifying, and so it's engaging for us to kind of try new things. So
that being said, I mean, for the ones in the middle, Scion and the Trini universe. We're going to look at that. I think my gut says that I'd like to do that with a dice pool system, because I think I think they worked to a large extent, just not 100%. Certainly not at the upper level aberrant powers. So I would still like to see if we can make that work, and I think Exalted 3 is going to be a really good test of that. So
got 15 minutes left.
Okay, back there.
With the move away from traditional publishing and how much you're pushing that, which is great. Are we going to see any layout changes in the books to make them more friendly for use on tablets and other mobile devices, rather than just being straightforward to the print version?
We're definitely investigating that. Yeah, as we make this transition, the thing that can occur, and if we have a reason why this would make sense, is that we would basically lay it out twice. We would do a version that everybody's used to but a lot, like especially the classic World of Darkness stuff. How many people told us that the layout made them feel just like they were in 1993 again, and just discovering for the first time? That's really precious, and I don't want to lose that because it's easier to read a tablet with a single column. You know what I mean? But moving us towards something that is designed to work on a tablet and not as a book is something that I'm passionately interested in. So we will look into that and continue to look into it.
Rich and I actually had a lot of talks about this over the past several years, because that's something I was very...
Like the way that the SASs are...
Sideways, yeah.
There are actually two layouts now. The last two, the falling scales, were both done in a more, a book portrait size, and then in what we've been doing with the SASs, which is a horizontal version, a landscape version, because it's easier.
Right, but that's one thing. Getting back to my point, though, is one of the things we talked about a lot the past few years was that a lot of digital layouts are kludges. It's kind of book-like, and devices can do more. But especially when the Kindles and whatnot first came out, it's like the technology in my mind wasn't quite mature enough. And now with iPads and the ubiquitous of tablet computers, I think the mature technology is there. And so now Rich is free to look at things like, okay, why do we have to even stick with PDF necessarily? Why do we have to stick with this particular format? There's even further we can go. Why not make it just an app entirely? And that frees up a lot of things and redefines what a quote-unquote book can actually be. That seems to be a stronger direction than a lot of these kludge ways of laying out things 7 or 8 times or running through a million different converters, and maybe the text comes out right this time. It seems like a more efficient way of doing that, but that's, again, still exploratory. We're still trying new things and seeing how they work. We've done a bit of, especially with the fiction, like converting things into the EPUB and MOBI formats and whatnot to make sure that's available, because fiction specifically does have that strong avenue, but RPGs, because they're more technically visually complicated with tables and charts and art, it's harder to get to those devices. So it seems like it's better use of time to try to get them to devices that can handle that and do amazing things with it, rather than hoping maybe it kind of works right.
Good answer.
That was my job. Drew hired me.
I don't remember that far back.
You guys have mentioned the annotated PDFs for the Kickstarters before.
Right.
We haven't seen any come out yet.
Well, you guys need to pledge more.
Well,
or Justin's fault.
But the question, I guess, is that annotated PDF would include other meta information, right?
Right.
For video or bookmarks, so like
that's the idea. Well, we already do bookmarks, but we would do it extensively. And I mean, one of the things Justin and I we've thrown around concepts for this thing, but we've never actually had to put it into play, right? Is the idea that conversations between him and I that we have all the time, in this case we record them and we put them in the appropriate spots.
Right.
This is where we talked about this paragraph. Well, hey Justin, that sucks. Oh really?
Now some of that also, I mean, if you look at the collection of horrors I did a couple of years ago, it's kind of some prototyping of some of these ideas, because I did put like audio files into those PDFs embedded. So and that was initially my prototype, just kind of justifying saying this stuff is technology we can do.
Because I was wondering too, like if you had some sort of example of what we can do, what would you guys like to see? If you had like a really short thing of, say, the Vampire Timeline. If you were to include a pop-up menu where you could scroll through the history of Vampire the Masquerade up to modern day points in history.
One of the big
to show people what it can
one of the big problems, and one of the things which ran into Faction of Horrors, was that the more cool stuff you put in, the smaller amount of computers that can actually use it. Because then it's like, now you have to be this particular version of Adobe Reader, and maybe that version of Adobe Reader isn't on Linux or on Mac, and you can't use Preview to read it anymore. So we really compress the amount of people who can use it. So whenever I was developing products like that, I was making sure that the default experience is not, you require these tools to have them. It's like, you're opting into these additional things, but if I print them up or look at them on a 10-year-old computer, I can still get everything I need out of these books. And that's a very different way of looking at books that hasn't been done before. So, I mean, it's, again, with the app idea, then it's, okay, we're completely new environments, but we know that environment always works this way. So if it's iOS or Android or whatnot, it's designed to work exactly in that space. But PDFs are so ubiquitous that they can't always work in a space, and we don't want you to buy a product and realize you can't use it. So.
Cool. You were up, and then you were down. So what's up?
People were asking about Ryan. You were working on Mage. Was that old Mage or new? And are you allowed to talk about what you got going on?
So the book that Rich just said that I turned in is the revamping the Technocracy source books. So the classic Mage. I just turned in the New World Order source book, where
convention book, New World Order,
and it's sort of thing there is like, well, it's been a little over 10 years since we've really talked about the Technocracy, and using a smartphone. That came out within the last 10 years, didn't it? Huh, funny. So there's a lot of talk about how the world's changed in 10 years, and you're welcome.
And that's something he and I actually talked about, and that's part of the reason why I ultimately kicked him over to Rich, was because you and I had a talk last GenCon, actually.
Yeah, last GenCon.
And it was like, how would you do this? And because Mage kind of had its thing, its moment, and ultimately we're like, you know what, let's just explicitly say, Ascension never happened, and how Technocracy moved, because that's more interesting. That's more fun. And then you start doing some blog posts like, this would be awesome, how do you think? It's just like, oh my god, you have to read this, Rich. And then so that's kind of how you got a job.
We don't expect that the mythical M20 is going to supersede or not be unusable with these books, but they're definitely designed to, if you were playing a classic Mage the Ascension Technocracy game, it's just going to fit right in.
Right.
So one word of warning, iOS versus Android, blah, blah, blah. Applications still have platform issues, and lots of them. So, I mean, sure, you know that.
Sure, and so do PDFs. I mean, like, for example, Drive RPG says you have to have Adobe Reader. I think it's 4 is default minimum.
Mike.
But they have a certain number of versions that you have to minimum. And certainly I know there have been problems specifically with some of the Linux slices of that. So yes, but there's also a certain percentage of, okay, I have jailbroken my iOS phone and I use, this Cydia or whatever slice, it doesn't really work. It's like, you know what, that you kind of opt in that particular choice.
And that wasn't really my point. It's just, there's a word of caution.
Right, yeah, exactly, no. But hey, you have a Gingerbread Nexus, okay, you could probably run this Android app.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
But my bigger one with the PDFs and some of the things you guys are discussing, one thing, and you guys may be doing it already, I just may not notice, errata and such can be laid right into the existing PDFs if you've bought them, and I've seen Drive Through RPG try it a couple of times, and I personally haven't had a lot of success with that pulling off.
Right.
But as someone who hates having their stack of errata next to their stack of books, or worse yet, a stack of printed out errata or files next to the PDFs that don't have them folded in,
yep.
Highly encourage you as you go more electronic to be able to do that, because it's, from a user experience, it's really nice not having to go, oh, what revision file is this? Where's the revision of the errata? That errata is the errata. And I know you guys are really well known for your errata, but
we love it. But to be fair, there's actually 2 anecdotes related to that. The first is that we did do Geist 1.1, and part of the idea for that was we had a small amount of problems with Geist, shall we say. And it's like, it really deserved a better treatment, and so we were to kind of go through and just really redo it, and rather than just, here's 20 pages of errata, let's just do the file again, and do it right and do it well. And it was going out of print, it was about time to do it anyway, so let's take that opportunity for this particular game to do it.
I mean, Ethan essentially rewrote it.
Right. But similarly, on V20, when Rich and I worked on that, we put out the PDF to early backers and whatnot, got a lot of feedback, and we weren't able to correct the deluxe version, but we were able to correct the PDF before it went to the print-on-demand version and do a lot of that very, very quickly. So there wasn't really errata, there was just kind of like a 1.01 version, as it were, and things like, the wrong stat was in the character sheets, and, really, oh God, I can't believe that. But we were able to correct that before the POD version even got out. That way, you never saw that awkward thing unless you really had the collector's edition and then the original go, oh, this is not quite right.
But we all
got that from the fans.
But we all know that we couldn't do the V20 collector's edition correctly. We were told by someone in France.
Right, yes, true, and they're obviously right.
That's right. You know what I'm talking about.
You have no idea what we're talking about, do you?
So, yeah, I think, as optimistic as I'm saying, it's just a brave new world of incredible stuff we could do. Everything you do the first time unleashes a demon. So, I mean, it's moving into this space is definitely going to have challenges. The Dice Force is going to start off as an Apple. I mean, it's an iOS, We've discussed moving to Android, and they've said, okay, then you'll pay us this much extra. And I said, let's see how it does at Apple first.
Let's make this thing make money first. Yeah.
I mean, we want to try to be as get it out to as many people as possible. So I'm sure we'll move towards that. So.
Anecdotally, on the same topic, I do a lot of work with online communities of people who have versions of the books, and we also have a set version. Okay, you start a game, you don't necessarily want to, like some errata is easy, it's typography or things like that.
Right.
Some errata are concrete rules changes to things that are broken or don't work. So while I would love to see the option to buy or download a book that I already have gotten through drive-through with the errata folded in, I also would want to be able to see the ability to still maintain the ability to get previous versions, so that if we decide we're playing a game with, this particular the rule set from this particular time, and somebody else joins us 6 months.
What page are we on here? Yeah. Who's looking at what? Why?
Yeah, I can tell them download the version that is associated with this version number, so that we can know that everyone's on the same page. Not my PDF says something different.
If John and Holden weren't writing 23 and a half hours a day right now, this discussion would be something we'd already be having for Exalted. I think Exalted is the big errata hawk here, but it's illustrated a lot of interesting stuff for us along those lines. And somebody said, well, it's not known for the errata. Well, no, we didn't do any.
Right.
How could we? I mean, we
had time.
At the time period, the website was barely in existence. I mean, and frankly, it was never great, and you couldn't go back into books except to make major changes when you did a new print run. So the ability to do errata is something that has kind of come into the process more. And again, in Exalted's case, that's just a big old mountain of trouble.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I guess the thing I'm saying, is that I love the concept of being able, when you start going forward, when they are to the point where they're going to be concerned about that sort of thing,
right?
Of being able to do it, but version control so that people will be able to.
And I think, I think legitimately, like, this is one of the things we talked about with a couple of the updates, which is the update comes out, boom, if you download that, I mean, you can change the name so you know what it is, but if that has all the changes already in it, it's now the thing that's available, and the old thing is not the thing that's available anymore at drive-through. So we're looking and discussing about how that would function, and that has to go all the way back to the developers and make that decision. Are we going to put out an errata sheet, essentially, that people can download and be numbered?
Solution for that, Rich. So,
all right, Mike.
You just upload the new version as a new file name and keep the old one on there too.
As long as that's how drive-through wants it to go, an OBS, then I'm good for that.
Fans works for us.
Yeah. I'm good for that. I just, it's your interface, baby. I just work there.
We look forward to breaking the interface soon. All right, we have time for one more question.
Anybody any further questions?
I can add something.
You got something?
Can I add something?
Yeah.
All right, so y'all know today was about the big announcements and going over the schedule and that sort of panels. Tomorrow is about details. So if y'all want to come back 10 a.m., it's a little early for WAD stuff, but come back, same area. We're doing WAD, we're doing Werewolf 20. I'm going to spoil the crap out of Mummy, so if you guys are interested in Mummy, come back tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, and it's going to be one of those things that the Mummy talk is going to be me and Eddy for about
2 5 seconds.
2 to 5 seconds. Go. Hey, we had this idea. We kind of said this again. Then Colin came and we got. Hey, Colin, go. And it's just going to be. Yeah, it's just going to be filled with mummy goodness. And then Werewolf 20 is going to be a different kind of experience because our developers aren't here.
Right.
They could make it for. I thought about that, but I will tell you about Ethan Skemp and Bill Bridges.
They're hobbits.
They live in a world.
They really are.
They really, really, really shy guys.
Yeah.
I mean, to put it in the most, they're really great guys. Even when they're at conventions, they have a lot of trouble talking on panels and things like that. So the idea that they would be caught in their homes to talk to people far away scared the crap out of them. Bill didn't want me to use his voice because he doesn't like the way he sounds when it's recorded. I love both of those guys. They're phenomenally great guys and amazing developers. But to get them in here in any way, it just was not going to happen.
So I'm going to be doing my Ethan and Bill impression.
But we think we've got enough that we can at least give guys an idea, and certainly I'll talk about the whole art end of things and how that develops. So. And where we are on it, which is real close.
Cool.
Okay.
Thank you guys very much.
One more question?
Yeah, this is the most important question to me. How do I work for you?
Send me something. The website is actually, if I know Ian,
submission guidelines should be it.
The Twitter account's up because they just friended me.
Yeah,
so.
the whole bunch of stuff is now active on the website that wasn't active. We were waiting for a month.
TheOnyxPath.com.
Yep.
There should be a.
There was a little stub there for freelancers, so I was wondering if there's going to be more after that.
There should be. If not now, very soon.
And I mean, I'm Rich T at theonyxpath.com. Anybody could send me an email at any point. I mean, even if you just want to, if it's because something's late, I mean, be nice.
And also, for the short term, continue to send stuff to questions at white-wolf.com, and I'll make sure it gets to Rich. So.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're trying to keep as many venues open on that communication as possible.
We don't want you to basically say, this is done, go over here now. There's going to be a transition period where we're at that, so.
All right. Okay. Everybody else, we're good?
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for coming, guys. Thanks for...